Alrighty. Good afternoon, everyone. We're returning from recess from our morning session for the purpose of two land use hearings this afternoon. It's 1 p.m. Emily, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Thayer?
Here.
Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Commissioner Schroeder?
Here.
Alrighty. As I said, we've got two applications before us today. The first is a use by special review. This will be a quasi-judicial public hearing. The second is for service plans related to Elbert County West. That'll be a legislative hearing in nature, but primarily conducted in the same manner. We'll have staff present. We'll ask the applicant to add any additional information. We may have questions for applicant or staff at that time, or hold them for public comment after public comment. Again, we may have questions or ask for responses to anything we hear from the public, and then we'll proceed to decisions. So both will run in that same general manner. But before we begin the SUR, we need to open the hearing. So I would accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we open the hearing on Charnabragan Acres Dog Breeding SUR 2023-1397.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open hearing on the Charnabragan Acres Dog Breeding SUR. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're in public hearing. So, Catherine, the floor is yours, and welcome.
Thank you all. Hello all. Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Armstrong, and I will be presenting the Charnabragan Acres Dog Breeding SUR case today. Case number SUR 2023-1397 on behalf of Samantha and Alan Graham, the owners of Charnabragan Acres LLC. This is for a special use by review SUR for a small in-home dog breeding business with less than 10 dogs. And as a note, there will be far fewer than 10 dogs. I'm sorry, let me get. 10 is the absolute maximum. There will probably be more than 4 to 5 dogs at a given time. There will probably never be more than 10 dogs. And as a second note, it is a dog breeding business, but any puppies within the home under 8 weeks are not considered the breeder's dogs. The applicants here are Samantha and Alan Graham of Charnabragan Acres LLC. The address, which is their residence, and also the place of the in-home business, where is 1397 Santa Fe Trail, Elizabeth, Colorado 80107, and the property owners are also Samantha and Alan Graham. For this process, the formal application was submitted September 19th, 2023. There were 2 referral processes from October 3rd to October 19th, 2023, and a second one from November 19th to December 7th, 2023. And the hearing dates for this, the Planning Commission was held on December 19th, 2023, and the Board of County Commissioners is today on January 10th, 2024. And the regulation, the notices for this hearing were posted. The mailers and the signs were posted on December 5th, 2023, and a Ranchland News notification went out on November 27th, 2023. Here's a vicinity map. The Graham residence is at 1397 Santa Fe Trail is in a residential neighborhood. It is outlined here with the red star. And here here's the property and location to the Elbert Douglas County line. The blue line here, if you can see it, is the Elbert Douglas County line, and the red circle is 1397 Santa Fe Trail. Here it is in relation to the town of Elizabeth. Is about 5 miles south from Elizabeth and is off County Road 122. And here's the zoning map. Santa Fe Trail is zoned residential agriculture in the orange. The property is circled here. If you can see on the map, it's a bit up compared to the presentation on my computer. It is in the Chisholm subdivision, and most of the land around it in the subdivision is also zoned RA. Some further away is zoned agricultural. That should read in the darker green. Legend is incorrect there, now I realize. And or residential, and the lighter green furthest away in the left-hand corner is zoned AR. The referral agencies for this went through multiple referral processes, and multiple agencies weighed in on the referral, including the Elbert County Building Department, the Elbert County Community and Economic Development Department, Elbert County Public Health, the Assessor and GIS Office, the Elbert County Engineer, the Town of Elizabeth, the Elizabeth Fire District, the Mountain View Electric Association, and the Colorado Division of Water Resources. There were no objections from these agencies, and additionally, China-Bragan Acres are already registered with PACFA, the Pet Animal Care and Facilities Act under the Colorado Department of Agriculture. So moving on to the review criteria, Article 2E5 of the Elbert County Zoning Regulations lists the review criteria A through H for all special use by review requests. The 8 criteria are as follows. A, the use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood. This special use by request for a small in-home dog breeding business which needs approval by the PC and BCC. It is a in-home business in a residential agricultural RA zoned property on approximately 27 acres of land. In this area, owners are allowed to have various types of agricultural animals as well as household pets. So there will not be any burden here with a few puppies of litters and, as I said, 4 to 5 dogs. And I think Mrs. Graham has made it clear that they are not expecting, in a few years, the maximum amount of litters of dogs they had is about 3, and there will be no more than 4 to 5 dogs in the home at a given time of their own dogs. The use will not have an undue burden on available infrastructure. This is a property under the property under consideration is a residence on a private road off of County Road 122. The only employee is the owner, Samantha Graham. No infrastructure will be affected by the proposal, given that it's an in-home business. No roads will be burdened by this proposal either, which I'll explain a bit more with C. The use will not unduly increase traffic congestion or burden the existing road system. As I said, this is an in-home business with 1 employee, and there will be no additional traffic for this project. For new puppies going to new owners, they will not be coming to from the Santa Fe residence at all. The dogs will be taken to a separate central location to be given to new owners, and nor are any prospective owners allowed onto Santa Fe residence before 8 weeks, as the puppies are susceptible to illness before then. The use will not cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. The only foreseeable disruption may be some barking of dogs. If any, the owner has stated it will be kept to a minimum and controlled. All sanitation requirements will be met. The Elbert County Public Health Department reviewed the application and had no objections to the proposal. The property has an existing water system, and all waste will be properly disposed quickly and with local waste and trash services, which is acceptable and will not burden the system. And Colorado Division of Water Resources also reviewed the application and had no major concerns. The only comment was that if additional water was needed, the applicant would agree to use bottled water from a retailer or grocery store, which the applicant had initially stated in the formal application that they were willing to do. F, the use will be adequately landscaped, buffered, and screened. For this project, there is no need additional landscaping needed. G, the use will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. CES has reviewed the application along with the other agencies, and I'm sorry, and found it will not be detrimental to residents of Elbert County. And lastly, weather supplemental standards are met for specific uses as applicable, and there are no foreseen supplemental standards with this application, and if there are any that come up, CES and applicant will take care of them properly. As for review criteria in alignment with the comprehensive plan, and the comprehensive plan's vision statement, Elbert County, being rich in heritage, has a vision where property rights are respected and agriculture, commons, industry, and residential growth are encouraged, thereby creating a path to economic prosperity. I'm sorry, I lost my notes, so I have them here. Trotter Dragon Acres is a small family-operated business with various types of agriculture and animals. It is a strong business model for Elbert County residents of Hollow, promoting economic prosperity for the residents and community, which also ties into the economic development of the comprehensive plan. Item EG6, the county should support the development of agricultural commerce, industry, education, healthcare, natural resources development, tourism, and residential growth. Based on Article 2E5A through H of the Elbert County zoning regulations and the Elbert County comprehensive plan, the staff finds the following. It is in general in conformance with the Elbert County comprehensive plan. It is generally compatible with the existing land and allowable land uses in the surrounding area. It will not have an undue burden on available infrastructure. It will not unduly increase traffic congestion or burden the available road system. It will not cause significant air, water, noise, or light pollution. It will meet all sanitation requirements. It will be adequately landscaped, buffered, and screened. It will not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County, and it will conform to all supplemental standards for the proposed uses. The conditions for approval are the applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of the decision by the Board of County Commissioners, the special use by review shall not become effective until all fees are paid. Conditions of approval are met and the special use by review exhibit is recorded. And 3, recordation of all appropriate documentation to occur within 180 days, 6 months, of the Board of County Commissioners' approval. Community and Economic Development Services recommends the Board of County Commissioners to approve the Charnobragan Acres SUR application number SUR 2023-1397, a special use by review for a small in-home dog breeding business. Thank you. I'd be pleased to answer any questions or comments you have.
Thank you very much. Good overview of the project. Do we have any questions for staff at this time? Okay, you don't. I'd invite the applicant up if present. Ma'am? Hello.
Hello.
So, is there anything you'd like to add to what was presented? It seems very straightforward.
No, she did a great job.
Alrighty. So, showing my ignorance, is Charnobragan a breed? Or?
No, it's actually a compilation of our kids' names.
Oh,
So
okay.
Charlie, Nolan, Braylee, Megan. So, yeah, I know.
Oh, that's wonderful. Any questions for the applicant then?
Just a curiosity question. For when the puppies are ready to move on to the new home, how old are they then?
They're 8 weeks. So the state of Colorado requires they have to be a minimum of 8 weeks of age to go to the new homes and get their first set of vaccinations. So 8 weeks at minimum.
All right. There were a few conditions that were presented. Are those acceptable to you?
Yes.
Okay. So at this point, I would open for public comment if there is any on this application. I didn't see any written in the packet. I don't see anybody here that has a burning desire to speak. We did not receive any requests for phone calls and no email comment in, so I will close public comment at this time, and if there's any other final discussion, we can have it, or I'd accept a motion.
I have no further discussion. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the Charnobragan Acres Dog Breeding SUR 2023-1397 as presented with the applicant accepting the conditions of approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval with the conditions that were presented by staff. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. You're approved. I would accept a motion to close public hearing on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the public hearing on Charnobragan Acres Dog Breeding SUR 2023-1397.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so that hearing is closed. Catherine, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Ma'am, congratulations. We'll take about a 5-minute recess while we set up for the next hearing, the service plans. All righty. Looks like we're queued up for our Metro District hearings. It's 1:26. We're coming out of recess. Mark, I believe you were open in this session, so I would accept a motion to open public hearing on the Elbert County West Metropolitan Districts.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to open public hearing on the EC West Metropolitan Districts, numbers 1 through 5, the EC West Commercial Metropolitan District, the EC West Overlay Metropolitan District, and the EC West Water and Sanitation District.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to open public hearing on the districts associated with EC West. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. We're in public hearing. Mark, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, I'm Mark Denrader, Director of Community and Economic Development for Elbert County Government. We are here today to hear EC West new service plans for Metro districts, a request to approve 8 new metropolitan districts. The details of this particular case, we've got a owner, Colorado Ranch and Land Holdings LLC. The applicant rep is Jim Yates. This particular property is located southeast of the intersection of County Road 29 and County Road 174. Here's that map with the location where you can get a reference point of where this is in the county. So as to the process, the hearing dates, the Planning Commission did hear this case actually on November 8. There was a continuance. The original Planning Commission meeting, it started on November 7 and went into the following day. And that is when the Metro District Service Plans were heard. The Planning Commission did recommend approval. It was a 5-1 decision in favor. And of course, we're here today for the Board of County Commissioners to hear this case. As for referrals, we have two primary referral agencies or entities when we review these service plans. One is Butler Snow, and this is the legal analysis, the statutory requirements as it pertains to metro districts, and we get their legal expertise. And we also use Anderson Analytics. This is more of the financial review component when they look at the proposals for the financial standards with respect to metro districts. Before we get to the review criteria, I need to mention there were a few immaterial changes that were made to 7 of the 8 service plans since the materials for this case were published. The Water and Sanitation District Service Plan was not revised. Again, these were immaterial. When we consulted with our legal expert for Metro Districts, Butler Snow, they had no issues with it. We also had this reviewed by our internal legal team with Bart Greer, and again, immaterial in nature. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. And I can pause there, and if you have any questions related to that, I'd be pleased to answer them.
Have any questions for staff at this time? No. Okay, Mark, please continue.
Okay, thank you very much. We will proceed. So when we look at the review criteria for metro districts, you have to reference Article 16D of the Elbert County zoning regulations. And there are criteria which include the following. The first is there sufficient, basically I'll actually back up and read this statement because it's interesting the way it's phrased. The Board of County Commissioners shall disapprove the service plan unless evidence satisfactory to the board of each of the following is presented. So you look at the first one, there is sufficient existing and projected need for organized service in the area to be serviced by the proposed special district. The second element, the existing service in the area to be served by the proposed special district is inadequate for present and projected needs. C, the proposed special district is capable of providing economical and sufficient service to the area within its proposed boundaries. You refer to D, it states the area to be included in the proposed special district has or will have the financial ability to discharge the proposed indebtedness on a reasonable basis. Additionally, there's further review criteria. If you look at Colorado Revised Statutes, it's 32-1-203. The Board of County Commissioners may disapprove the service plan if evidence satisfactory to the board of any of the following at the discretion of the board is not presented. So we'll go through these. So A, adequate service is not or will not be available to the area through the county or other existing municipal or quasi-municipal corporations, including existing special districts, within a reasonable time and on a comparable basis. B, as in boy, the facility and service standards of the proposed special district are compatible with the facility and service standards of each county within which the proposed special district is to be located and municipality which is an interested party under the section 32-1-2041. C, the proposal is in substantial compliance with a master plan adopted pursuant to section 30-28-106. And again, that's Colorado Revised Statutes. We continue, if you look at D, the proposal is in compliance with any duly adopted county, regional, or state long-range water quality management plan for the area. E, the creation of the special district will be in the best interest of the area proposed to be served. Here are our findings and recommendation to you, the Board of County Commissioners. One, there is sufficient existing and projected need for organized service in the area to be serviced by the districts. Number two, the existing service in the area to be served by the districts is inadequate for present and projected needs. Three, the districts are capable of providing economical and sufficient service to the area within their proposed boundaries. Four, the proposal is compatible with existing and allowable land uses in the surrounding area. Number five, the area to be included in the districts does have or will have the financial ability to discharge the proposed indebtedness on a reasonable basis. Six, adequate service is not or will not be available to the area through the county or other existing municipal or quasi-municipal corporations, including special districts, within a reasonable time and on a comparable basis. Seven, the facility and service standards of the districts are compatible with the facility and service standards of the county within which the districts are located, and each municipality which is an interested party under section 32-1-2041. Again, that's Colorado Revised Statutes. Number eight, the proposal is in compliance with a master plan adopted pursuant to section 30-21-106 CRS. There's more here. Number nine, the proposal is in compliance with any duly adopted county, regional, or state long-range water quality management plan for the area. And 10, the creation of the districts will be in the best interest of the area proposed to be served. So with all that, the recommendation of our department is that the Community and Development Services Group, we recommend approval of this for the Board of County Commissioners of these 8 new metro districts, and that is based on the criteria that we have in our Elbert County zoning regulations. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions at this time, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. Next, we have Graham Anderson from Anderson Analytics, and he's going to present as a staff consultant on this application.
Have any questions for staff?
Just real quickly, the Planning Commission 5-1 vote, was there a reason given for the dissenter?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. It was actually in line with a vote previous for the EC West PUD and the EC West preliminary plat, and it was based on just broad and general concerns regarding water, and a point made about he would have liked to have seen the water master plan completed before looking at this particular case.
Thank you. I don't believe we have any other questions for you at this time, Mark, so we could move on to Mr. Anderson.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair, and if you could just give us a brief pause to transfer the technology to our applicant, or staff consultant rather, Graham Anderson.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the pause there. I
No problem.
appreciate the time, Chair and Board of County Commissioners. Again, my name is Graham Anderson. I'm the Senior Analyst with Anderson Analytics. We're at 1516 North Nevada in Colorado Springs. Again, we were engaged to review the proposed service plan, particularly the financial plan. I'm also tasked with either the enviable or unenviable task of presenting the key provisions in these proposed service plans. It's a very dense application. It's a similar structure to Independence, but there are some key differences. And so I will plow in, and I'll also identify the key change from the version that was reviewed by the Planning Commission. So starting out, metro districts numbers 1 through 5 in commercial, 6 proposed districts called the infrastructure districts to allow flexibility in development and bond issuance phasing. These districts are to be empowered to use general obligation bond financing. General obligation means backed by property taxes to fund eligible public improvements. The proposed aggregate service plan debt limit for these 6 districts combined is $289 million. So that's kind of a scorecard or a scoreboard. If one district issues towards the $289 million, it lowers the amount available for the rest of the districts. The proposed debt levy cap, this kind of gets into the amendment a little bit, but I'll do that in the next slide. The proposed debt levy cap is at 55.664 mils. It's adjustable for changes in the assessment rate or methods in calculating assessed value. So the base year or the baseline assessment rates are the 7.15% residential and 29% commercial, because those are technically the permanent statutory rates. I've illustrated some of the math on how you adjust that. Important additional provision here, maximum 40-year debt levy imposition term. What that means is that when a district first starts imposing that debt levy, it's a 40-year clock after that. So the only way that debt levy could be imposed longer than 40 years, the district would have to go back to the Board of County Commissioners and get special approval, and that could be only related to refunding of existing debt, not any new money debt. Another provision, this is a fairly common provision in metro districts, both in Colorado, as well as ones that have been approved in Elbert County. It's not universal, but it's fairly common. The debt levy is authorized to be what's called limited, convertible to unlimited, meaning it may be adjusted higher if necessary to make required bond payments once the outstanding bond total is less than 50% of the pledged district's total assessed value. That sounds really complicated, but that's really the universal provision out there. And what that effectively means is that trigger could only happen in the very latter years of the bonding term. So you can't kind of play tricks with the financing. It would be projected year 33 and after in the financial plan. Important, a proposed amendment from the submittal that was reviewed by the Planning Commission proposed for the operations and maintenance levy for these infrastructure districts to be uncapped. So it would be effectively an unlimited levy. It would be at the discretion of the board of directors of those districts. The prior submittal was a total district levy cap of 65 mils with 55 mils anticipated for debt and 10 mils anticipated for operations. The main thing that has changed, as the applicant indicated to us, the applicant submitted an anticipated road infrastructure operations and maintenance budget estimate, which I'll get to in some later slides, but that's really the impetus behind this proposed amendment. Independence, for example, is not responsible for the internal roadway maintenance, but this would be an additional responsibility of these districts here. The infrastructure districts also proposed to be authorized with an abatement mill levy. Those are typically small in the tens or hundreds of a mill. Title 32 districts, just like the county and school districts and municipalities, are allowed to collect an abatement mill levy. A provision here, I really wanted to walk through this, what it is and what it is not. So only with prior written consent of the county. Special assessments could be imposed on developer-owned property only to help finance public improvements via a special improvement district, essentially formed by the Metro District. Now, those special assessments would have to be fully paid off and cleared before any certificate of occupancy. So essentially, it's really only a possible special assessment on vacant land owned by the developer. That could be pledged to the bonds of this district, but it would not count towards the $289 million general obligation cap I indicated earlier. So you may ask, why would you do this? It kind of feels like money in one pocket out, into the other pocket and all of that. Kind of a key concept here. There are really kind of two different types of special district financing here. The general obligation one that I indicated earlier is paid by property owners by a property tax over time. But there's also a lot of special district financing that's paid by the developer. That it's essentially the legal framework or the conduit to access tax-exempt financing. So here, this is a potential tool to access early-stage capital at tax-exempt rates to finance additional eligible public improvement costs that would otherwise have to be financed privately at private interest rates and return on equity. Again, it would only be paid by the developer. It's not an ongoing assessment. Finally, similar concept here, but this would go to the general obligation bonds. Also anticipate a facility fee of about $7,400 per residential unit to be paid by the home builder at construction. Structurally, that kind of serves in the bonds as it's kind of a year or two of property taxes, because there's always a delay between when a unit is constructed and then when you actually realize property tax revenues. It's important structurally for the bonds. Switching gears here, this is a similar structure to Independence again, the overlay Metro District. Again, it's just a Metro District overlay is a name for it. It would be formed to perform CC&R and design review in lieu of an HOA, as well as, importantly, to own, operate, and maintain park and rec, open space, and community amenities in EC West. So no HOA, which means no HOA fee, which is also a consideration on the mill levy and the financial side as well. Overlay district has no debt authorization, so no debt levy. Similar proposed amendment here, uncapped operations and maintenance levy. The submittal to the Planning Commission was a cap of 15 mils for operations on the overlay district, adjustable for the assessment rates. The applicant indicates the overlay district may need to take on additional obligation related to the street infrastructure or possibly other infrastructure district services. Again, similar, abatement levy. District may impose an operations fee on builder-owned lots. It may establish a system of fees, rates, charges for service. In practice, that would be like swimming pool fees, community center. As you very well know, fees cannot be used for general revenue raising purposes. It's only for offsetting the cost of a particular service. Really important point here, it actually didn't really need to be explicitly stated in the service plans, but it is. All open space and park and recreation improvements, the community amenities, swimming pool, et cetera, shall be open for use by the general public. And that's because it would be financed by governmental entities, infrastructure districts, and owned and operated by a governmental entity, the overlay district. So by nature, those are public improvements. And the developer has indicated community amenities for the overlay district, anticipated to include a community center with swimming pool, gathering rooms, educational spaces, as well as a rather extensive amount of parks and open space and trails in the community. Final switching gears in this executive summary of sorts, the water and sanitation district. Kind of two sides here on the Water and Sanitation District. The first side is the infrastructure financing. Tap and facility fees paid by the home builder or commercial builder at construction to pay special revenue bonds issued by the district to help finance eligible public improvements. The revenue bond authorization amount is $140 million, but there's no mill levy authorization here. In fact, a mill levy is not technically feasible because there's an overlap prohibition with the infrastructure districts. So that's not general obligation debt, it's a special revenue debt. Again, kind of similar to the special assessments, this is effectively financing that's paid by the developer. Anticipated tap fee in the financial plan of $52,000 per residential unit. So of course that impacts the price of the lot. So that's kind of how it's developer paid financing there. Other side of it, district is to provide ongoing water and sanitation service to the EC West community to be funded by water and sewer service charges, monthly water and sewer rates. The proposal includes a utility rate study, anticipates base monthly water sewer or water rate of $100, though it's tiered by use, so that's the base rate, and anticipated flat monthly sewer rate of $60. I've already indicated no mill levy authorization for the water and sanitation districts. This actually is a summary of the public improvement cost estimate exhibit in the submittals. This includes the water and sanitation district as well as the infrastructure. It's all of the public improvements there, including roads, landscaping, et cetera, includes contingency soft costs. Total public improvement cost estimate there of $637.6 million. Two things I would highlight in this. The first one would be that first line, which stood out to us, which is off-site road improvements and traffic signals. That's a big number, $57.3 million. And so I did ask the applicant. They were kind enough to share this exhibit. This exhibit is not a part of the service plans. I must underscore this is preliminary. It's subject to change as the plats are engineered, as the project builds out, and it's subject to final county approval. But this is the applicant's logic behind the $57.3 million off-site road improvement cost estimate. I'm not an engineer, so I won't go into that, but I guess our comment would be typically we don't see as extensive of off-site road improvements with special districts like this. The other thing I would highlight is that the estimated public improvement cost exceeds the total proposed debt authorization amount. Infrastructure districts, $289 million. Water and sanitation district, $140 million, so $429 million versus the $638 million total public improvement cost. So I just wanted to quote from the service plans. Improvements not funded by these districts shall remain the responsibility of the developer. The county is not responsible for assuming any of the costs for the construction or delivery of these public improvements. The service plans anticipate developer advances for the funding of these public improvements to be repaid from bond proceeds to the extent that they're available. It anticipates phased financing and construction of improvements. That's really the reason for establishing 6 infrastructure districts there. It provides flexibility to pledge not just different phases, but as well as different components of the development to different bond phases. You may have bond investors who just want to invest in a commercial project, so you have a district there available for that. Now, I should note that the financial plan, the bond plan in the financial plan is what we would call a numerical plan. Essentially, what it presents is one bond issuance off of the entire anticipated 15-year build out to kind of mathematically demonstrate the projected financing capacity In practice, there would likely be multiple bond issuances off of shorter build-out phases, but you'd be printing out a lot more paper if that was the submittal. So going back here, I'm just reiterating proposed mill levy authorization. The debt levy is proposed to be capped, again, adjustable for the assessment rate, legislative changes in method of calculating assessed value, infrastructure district, operation and maintenance overlay district, operation and maintenance levies proposed to be uncapped, and water and sanitation district, no mill levy authorization. Now, in regard to, comparing or anticipating what the mill levy might be, I'll just step through this as to what the applicant has indicated to us. They've indicated that in Independence, 15 mills for the overlay district for park and rec and community maintenance has worked so far. They have indicated, as well as Independence, that 10 mills for the infrastructure districts, that's mainly for admin and compliance, has also appeared to work so far. Now, the applicant indicates that their analysis shows significant additional revenues would be necessary to responsibly maintain the roadway infrastructure, the internal roadway infrastructure. The applicant submitted an anticipated operations budget for the roads. I'll show that in the next slide, but that's about $3.84 million at build-out, which if you do the math at the projected assessed value at build-out in the financial plan, that's about 19.6 mils. Then finally, applicant indicates the overlay district as well may need to take on additional operating responsibilities. Thus, the applicant proposes uncapping the operations and maintenance levy for the infrastructure districts and the overlay district. This is the applicant's road infrastructure operations and maintenance budget that they submitted. It does include a capital replacement reserve set aside there that you can see in the middle. Really annual maintenance costs of $3.1 million for the total there of $3.84 million. I've showed the math at the bottom there, the projected assessed value at build out, so 19.6 mils. Now, this budget, of course, does not include admin, compliance, maintenance of park and recreation improvements, et cetera. That's just the road infrastructure maintenance budget there. So for purposes of illustrating an estimated possible total mill levy, I must underscore that. Based on that information above, on the operations side, if you take 10 mills and you add 15 mills and then the 19.588, which could be spread out among, between the infrastructure and overlay district, however that may be, that would add up to about 44.6. Again, an estimate could be higher, it could be lower. The bond levy cap, 55.664 mils. It has a 40-year maximum debt levy imposition term. And so the total there at those base assessment rates, just over 100 mils. So where does this put you? I wanted to indicate that in this table I'm showing tax year 2022 mill levies, so essentially last year's mill levies, just out of respect that per the special legislative session today is technically the deadline for certifying levies, so I don't want to jump ahead of that. But in any case, on top, those are the existing taxing entities: Elizabeth School District, once the property is subdivided, Elizabeth Park and Recreation District, North Parts and Rattlesnake Fire, the South Parts and Kiowa Fire. So if you add in, I'm showing the tax year 22 adjusted bond levy, if you add that in, the target, or the estimate, I shouldn't say the target, but the estimate's kind of in the range of 176 to 178 mils, but no annual HOA fee because you have that overlay district there. So where does that slot you in to the existing residential metro districts in the county? this kind of goes down in numerical order of the mill levy load, but also take into consideration the HOA fee there. Just to illustrate that, if you have a $600,000 market value home, 10 mills on that's about $400. So 176, 177 mills, if you compare that to Ritoro, Metro District, and E86, that would kind of slot you in there actually a little bit lower when you compare to the HOA fee. Now, those two districts, Ritoro and E86, are in the town of Elizabeth. The other ones are in unincorporated Elbert County. And the version that was seen by the Planning Commission with the 65 and 15 mill levy caps would have been just about equal to Independence there at 160 mills. This is an example proposed, well, really example estimated residential property tax. Again, this is tax year 22, so I've got the 6.95% assessment rate, but we're kind of hitting the side of the barn here. So the existing entities, if you had a $600,000 market value home, which is just about the average anticipated market value in the financial plan, about $3,100 annual property tax to the existing entities. And with that estimate for EC West, about $42,500 or $4,250 so about $7,400 property tax bill and no HOA fee. Not as many commercial metro districts in Elbert County. In fact, two, one with 35 mills, one with 5 mills. But I did illustrate here an example proposed commercial property tax load per square foot as well. That $250 commercial market value per square foot is really for purposes of illustration, but that's the anticipated average for the commercial uses in the financial plan. So the existing entities, $550 a square foot, EC West about $7.25. Now, of course, there's a lot more variability in commercial market values. So say you have an F&B use that's at $500 a square foot, then you can do the math there and essentially double that. The financial plan, the bond plans do show the commercial district at the full bond at 55 mills. But of course, in reality, there'd be some assessment as to really what the commercial uses could tolerate. Then finally, since we're talking about operations, I'm going to switch here to the water and sanitation district. The service plans include a utility rate study. So this is the anticipated residential service rates that are shown in that utility rate study. The utility rate study or the model is actually based off of actual 2022 usage rates in Independence Water and Sanitation District. So based off of those water usage rates, in that study, the majority of households are from the base tier to the second tier there. And the base rates, I believe, are comparable to Independence. It's a little bit more of a conservation-oriented rate structure there, but it looks like the usage rates in Independence came in much lower than were initially anticipated as well. So a lot more water conservation. What the utility rate model shows, it shows the water and sanitation district at those rates becoming cash positive in year 5, necessitating about $2.2 million in cumulative developer advances. Then by year 9, or really 55% estimated tap build out, because that rate model is based off of a bit of a more conservative build out projection that's ends in the bond model. But at 55% tap build out, generating cumulative net revenue surplus after repaying that $2.2 million in developer advances. So those are really kind of the two benchmarks we look at there as to when or whether those anticipated water and sewer rates are sustainable. Switching over to really what was the core of our, or at least my review, a review of the financial plan, really the bond plan. The key question that we look at is, does the financial plan demonstrate that the districts have the projected financial capacity to issue and pay off the full proposed debt authorization amount? That goes into one of the statutory requirements. The area to be included has or will have the financial ability to discharge the proposed indebtedness on a reasonable basis. So that word reasonable, what we're looking for here are reasonable assumptions in the bond financing plan. There are essentially two sides to our review here of the financial plan and of the bonds. One side is the projection of revenues available for debt service. So that's driven by the projected build-out, the projected property values, the inflation, and those property values, the anticipated mill levies, et cetera. Then the other side, which is a little bit more, that's really the purpose of our engagement, is to assess the bond financing assumptions, like the assumed interest rates on those bonds. Is it a bond structure that reflects real world, et cetera, et cetera. So starting out on the projection of revenues available for debt service, this is the projected build-out schedule and property values that are shown in the financial plan. This is for the entire EC West community. The applicant indicated that this is the developer's anticipated build-out schedule. 2,850 residential units. I've ordered that so you have the detached units on the top there and then attached units at the bottom of the table. And then two anticipated commercial districts at the bottom, both of about 80,000 square feet. The average home market value, and that's essentially representative of market values today, about $607,000 average across that. I asked the applicant, what was the thinking or the philosophy going into this build-out schedule. They indicated that, the 50, 60-foot detached lots, it's kind of the bread and butter. It's proven product here, and so you kind of start out with that because those communities or phases can kind of stand on their own. And then as the full community builds out with community amenities and such, then that's really when the attached product becomes a lot more feasible. So that's why the attached units are kind of in the middle of the build out there. And the 50 and 60-foot lots homes, of course, are rather consistent with the product in the current market. The financial plan assumes, after construction, 6% biennial inflation in residential property values and 2% biennial inflation in commercial property values. The reason for both of those is those are pretty much typical bond underwriting assumptions. Now, of course, if in reality property values were only going up that much, there probably wouldn't be so much of a political issue there. But that's kind of, for these special district bonds, really one of the safety factors in it. So those bond investors, really kind of what they're more looking at is, or betting on, is that the build out occurs rather than having that risk over 20 or 30 years on the property value side. Now, to put that in context here, I presented the annual home value appreciation in Elbert County going back to 1978. So 6% biennial inflation up at the top left equates to annual appreciation of just under 3%, 2.96. So if you compare that to the 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, and 40-year historical averages, you're slotting in below that. Obviously, the last 10 years has been particularly strong, but that's really one of the fundamental economic factors that we're looking at when we're considering these financial plans here. I presented, this is a rather busy table, but this is the sources and uses table for the infrastructure district's bond plan. What's anticipated is what you would call a refunding a new money structure, a 40-year bonding term. So the reason why you have this refunding a new money structure there is that special district bonds very, very, very rarely have a term longer than 30 years. So if you're going to be bonding off of a 40-year term, what's anticipated here is a first issuance, and then 10 years later, that previous issuance would be refunded, and because you have a lower interest rate, as well as this isn't factored into, but in reality, you'd also have property value appreciation probably above what was initially underwritten as well. And then finally, you're effectively bonding off of an additional 10 years. So that refunding series yields net new money proceeds as well. The two things I would highlight in this table, first of all, is that line in gray, which is the net proceeds for eligible costs. You have to deduct issuance costs as well as any reserve fund requirements, et cetera, from the bonds that are issued. So the first bond series net proceeds about $147 million. Then in the refunding a new money series, net proceeds about $111 million, so about $258 million in net proceeds to fund eligible costs. And then the second thing I would highlight there in orange, those are the amounts that count towards the $289 million general obligation debt authorization for the districts, which I've summarized here a little bit shorter. The cost of refunding existing debt does not count towards that $289 million. The reason being it's just generally in the best interest of property taxpayers as well as the districts to be able to refinance existing debt at a lower interest rate because that's net present value savings there. But the financial plan shows a debt amount towards the $289 million, just a little bit above that. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. The assumptions that this first bond series for the infrastructure districts, again, 30 years, 2028 issuance date is what's shown. So really fundamentally, what they're showing here is anticipating issuance after delivery of some of the development backing those bonds. It assumes a 5% interest rate or annual coupon rate on those bonds sized at 1.0 times coverage. Then the debt levy is modeled at 55 mils across all of those years. If this series is not refunded, it does show those bonds being discharged at the end with a $6.8 million surplus fund balance. Now, these are our comments here. An assumed coupon rate of 5% at 1.0 times equivalence would be reflective of stronger bond market conditions than today's, though it's not inconsistent with rates that we've seen in the past, perhaps later 2019, for example, or 2020 and 2021, probably even seeing better rates. In 2023, similar coupon rates, it's been across the board, but probably in the 6s and the 7s. Now, what we're looking at here is first consideration, availability of developer advances provides flexibility to issue in better bond market conditions, as well as is shown in the financial plan, to bond off of some of the development after it has been delivered. And to the extent that development backing the bonds is delivered prior to its issuance, then lower coupon rates, more comparable to refunding bond types, would be justified. Switching over to the refunding a new money series 10 years later, in 2038 shown in the plan, yield 111 new money proceeds. It assumes a 4% annual coupon rate at 1.0 times coverage equivalent. Again, 30 years, and this issuance timing would coincide essentially with the final build out. So it's backed by stabilized revenue stream, and thus those bonds are assumed to be investment grade rated bonds. Our comments on this, assumed coupon rate of 4% for these types of refunding bonds. That's the pretty general assumption for service plans of this type. You know, looking over the past decade, coupon rates of public offering generally been probably 4 or some on up into the 5s, and in 2021, some dipped into the 3s. But as I noted before, long-term historical rates of property value appreciation have generally exceeded those underwriting assumptions at 6% and 2% biennial. Thus, this is often why 1.0 times coverage is assumed here, and often why the 4%, which is kind of the lower end of the range of actual observations, is also assumed. Then finally, switching to the water and sanitation district. So previously, those were general obligation bonds paid by property taxes. This is the water and sanitation district to be paid by tap and development fees by the home builder, effectively by the developer. The financial plan anticipates a total of $52,000 tap fee and facility fee per unit. In reality, that could be tiered based off of tap size or off of lot size, but this represents the applicant's anticipated average. The financial plan shows one bond issuance in 2024, again backed by those tap and development fees. No mill levy is authorized, so those are not general obligation, and the water and sewer service fees, the monthly water and sewer rates go towards water and sanitation district's operations, not towards these bonds, not towards the debt financing. Now, you will note the par amount of bonds shown in the financial plan is $135.422 million, which is not $140 million, which is the revenue bond authorization amount proposed. So again, we indicated these are not general obligation bonds. And so from a technical perspective, what would need to happen to get to that full $140 million? Well, you could have lower interest rates on the bonds. You could have faster underwritten build-out, which actually might be a real consideration here. Essentially bonding off of shorter build-out phases, so it's more efficient. But the real thing to look at here is that if you just have higher tap and development fees there, then instead of it being $52,000, if it's $54,000, $55,000, that's kind of how you could get to $140 million. The district's not obligated to issue this full $140 million, but I really wanted to just step through those assumptions and those considerations. The water and sanitation district bonds and the financial plans, they assume a 6% coupon rate, annual interest rate. It is a 30-year term, but they show what's called a cash flow repayment structure, which essentially means that to the extent that revenues are available or even not available, you may pay off those bonds as much as you go. So effectively, those bonds would be paid off at final build-out, which is 2039 in the financial plan. Really, our only observation on this, there are probably 150, 200 general obligations, special district bond issuances a year in Colorado. this is a less frequent type of bond issuance, probably only a handful of a year, so it's a little bit harder to kind of target what the interest rate would be on that. But a good comparable would be Independence, their 2019 bonds, because it's a very similar structure. Those were issued at a 7.25% interest rate. Now, it could be actually positive here that, there's a very similar project that had achieved a successful issuance there as well, but as to what we would anticipate those coupon rates being in 2024, I think our firm probably has a fairly positive outlook for 2024 in terms of interest rates, but there's just been so much in the economy. Maybe I should give up making predictions. So that's really all I have for you. There is an appendix in which I've summarized the bonds down to essentially 2 tables instead of 20 tables, but I'm not going to walk through those right now. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Mr. Graham at this time?
I just kind of summarize it a little bit. It looks like is the debt limit $289 million or is it $400 million?
It would be $289 million for aggregate among districts 1 through 5 and commercial. That would be the debt that could be paid by property taxes. And then the $140 million is for the water and sanitation district. That would be backed by the tap and facility fees paid by the home builder. Adding those two together would be $429 million. That could go towards the $637 million in eligible public improvements. But the two they're fundamentally different types of debt, one general obligation and one special revenue.
Well, I'm looking at it, I've become one of the new landowners there. The 100 mills would be a typical $7,000 to $7,500 a year.
If you add in the existing entities, yes.
That includes the fire departments and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And of course, that's just an estimate. That's also reflective of last year's mill levies. I know some of them have gone down, but with an uncapped operations levy for the infrastructure districts and overlay districts, that's just an estimate based off of what the applicant indicated. But general estimate, probably about $7,500, all entities, including EC West and the county, the fire district, park district, et cetera.
And then the other question I have, and then I'll be quiet, is that the total amounts of money there, does that include the accrued interest? Or is that paid over and above the amounts?
Are you asking on the bonds
Yes.
If there's accrued? Okay. Really, interest only accrues when you have a cash flow structure bond. The cash flow structure bond was in the water and sanitation district financial plan, because that's essentially backed by the build out. Structurally, there's really not much accrued interest here. Actually, if you want to look at the very middle columns here, balance of accrued interest, the accrued interest on the water and sanitation district bonds in the financial plan just gets up to $5 million in 2026, and then it's finally fully paid off in 2028. The bonds for the infrastructure districts are not of a cash flow structure. It's a mandatory annual principal and interest payment, and so accrued interest is not allowed, or accrued interest is essentially not allowed on the infrastructure districts, the general obligation bonds.
I just want a clarification on a couple things there. The tap fee is to be paid for by the home builder?
Yes.
And then the anticipated price of around $600,000 per unit, is that $52,000 included in that $600,000, or is that anticipated that would be an additional amount that the home builder would then charge to the prospective home buyer?
No, that's included. So the 600,000 average market value, that would be if you or I or anybody in this room were to go to pay and buy a house, that would be the price of the house. Be part of it. And that's what the assessor would value it as. The kind of the concept or the reason why I was saying this, that a tap fee is kind of paid by the developer, is that impacts, fundamentally what they can sell that lot for to a home builder. Now, obviously, there's a lot of economics there. It's not exactly one-to-one linear there. That's a lot of the art of being a single-family home builder or developer. But no, it's not a direct linear. You take the 600,000 and then you add that on top of that. It would be the home price.
They need to factor that into whatever profit margin they're looking to get it for that 600,000.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate the thorough rundown as always, and I know that the devil is certainly in the details on these, so I'm glad we have the extra set of eyes. It does look like it's conservative on both sides of not only price escalation of interest and inflation and costs. The numbers always look painful when it comes to tax bills, but I was just looking at a $600,000 house today at 30 years and 6% if you can get it, you're paying $3,600 a month. Then with the taxes on top of, in the 6 to 650 range for loose math, those are big numbers. But when I look at my own property, when I pay it off, it was bought much lower rate, much lower cost. My monthly fee, my monthly payment for my home will up to about half because of property taxes. So even at the lower property tax rate, that's about half my bill now. So it's a much lower, though the cost to buy a home now and in the future is much higher. The actual total burden for taxes is a much lower percentage of that monthly payment. So we've always, again, we've asked for development to pay its way, and this is the cost of that to future residents, so it's not burdening current. So I appreciate it. The numbers, though always painful when they're added up, I think do make a lot of sense. So thank you.
Just one more question is that the market absorption of some of the subdevelopments here in Elbert County have not been 15 years. They've been somewhat longer than that. How does that affect your thinking?
I might actually defer that question to the applicant because they certainly know more in terms of the anticipated build out. I did ask them in relation to the anticipated absorption in relation to the annual single-family housing building permit counts, and they did indicate that they see a lot of unmet demand in the Elbert County housing market, but I'm probably safe off deferring that question in more detail.
Thank you. Mark, I think we have Butler Snow's presentation.
Yes, Mr. Chair, next would be the applicant presentation, and if we could just get a brief pause, that would be terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, why don't we take a 5-minute recess for comfort and transition. It's 2:37. We're out of recess, and we will, I guess, turn this to the applicant. Ma'am, welcome.
afternoon, Commissioners. Diane Miller with Miller Law, PLLC, 1555 California Street, Denver, Colorado, and I am the attorney for the proposed EC West Metropolitan Districts. Next slide. Just to introduce myself, also here today is Jim Yates with Kraft Companies, the developer for this project, and Lacey Knowles with D.A. Davidson. Lacey is the underwriter who prepared the financial plans. We are often asked when we're putting districts together what the benefits of metropolitan districts are. It is the method in Colorado that is most typical for growth to pay its own way. When we create a district, it's because there's no other public entity that wants to build or finance those public improvements. It reduces the cost of public improvements through access to low-cost, tax-exempt financing for the district. If the district was not available and private loans had to be used to finance all that infrastructure, you would see interest rates probably at least double of what we get from the districts. It provides for a proportionate impact to the people who actually are property owners and residents within a district, rather than front-loading all the costs of the improvements on a new home. The costs are paid over a period of 30 years as bonds are issued. Property owners only pay a proportionate share of the cost of those improvements while they own the property. We know in Colorado that the average homeowner owns a house for 7 years and then moves. So if they're in a metro district, they're paying on those bonds for 7 years while they live there, while they're using those improvements and amenities. And when they move, whoever moves into their house next is the one who will pay those bonds. And very important that taxpayers outside the boundaries of the new development do not contribute to the financing costs of these developments. It's only paid by the people who actually choose to buy a home or choose to develop commercial property within the district. As Graham's already gone over with you, the estimated cost of public improvements for the EC West development is $637 million. The debt limit of the districts is $429 million, and the remainder of public improvement costs remain the responsibility of the developer of the project. County is not responsible for the cost of public improvements funded by the district or for any of the district's debt, or for that matter, for any of the developer's development costs. There are many financial safeguards for districts. And one of the things that we usually point out as being most important is that when bonds are issued, neither the developer nor the district have unfettered access to those funds. The money goes in, once bonds are issued, the money goes to a corporate trust department like UMB Bank or AME Bank or some bank that is going to hold that money. They're holding it in trust on behalf of the district and on behalf of the bondholder to make sure that for both those parties, those funds are spent appropriately. Districts have to have a third-party engineer come in and look at the costs and the contracts and certify those before they're sent over to the trustee as a request to release those bonds. Funds are available for direct hard construction costs, and they're also available for the soft cost permits, engineering costs that can be paid through the bonds. Developer profit is not an eligible cost under the federal securities requirements for district revenues. On top of that, on a quarterly basis, once bonds are issued, the district completes a continuing disclosure report. This is sent to both the trustee, and then the trustee sends it on to the owners of the bonds. It's basically detailing how many houses have been sold, how many are under construction, and other financial information regarding the district. Those reports are available on EMMA, which is the Electronic Municipal Market Access website of the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board. And so as an example, Independence Metropolitan District has issued bonds. You could go on to EMMA, just put Independence Metropolitan District, and all the information about those bonds will come up on that website. Next slide. There are additional safeguards that are in place with regard to districts. There's disclosure notice to the people who purchase property within a district. This is statutory in the sense that those disclosure items are in Colorado statute, and the language for them is in place. If you've purchased a home recently, you'll see in bold and all caps information that says your property may be in a special district. You need to ask about that and get the information. In addition to that, the service plan for these districts is on file with the county clerk and recorder's office, and an annual report goes to the county as well from each of the districts detailing what infrastructure has been built that year, what's anticipated for the next year, and any financial information that would be relevant. Special districts in Colorado are now required to have their own website. Each district has its own website, and it is required under law that certain things be put on that website. Notices of meetings and budget hearings, all of the documents and records of the district, contact information so that if you have a question, you know who to call and ask information, debt information, mill levy information, and election information, when the next election is going to be, how many vacancies are available, and how to submit a self-nomination form if you want to be up for election on the board. For many years, the Colorado Sunshine Laws have required open meetings of all special districts and other local governments. They require regular elections. Elections for special districts are held every May, every 2 years in May. So the next election will be May of 2025. And we also are required to hold an annual meeting for residential districts. It's called, a lot of times it's referred to as the town hall meeting. It's not a meeting where any business of the district is conducted, but it's an opportunity to give property owners, homeowners, residents the chance to ask questions of the board of directors, and then some presentation about the financial status of the district. So for EC West, we're proposing 8 districts. That's the 5 residential metropolitan districts, 1 commercial district, the overlay metropolitan district, and the water and sanitation district. Exhibit D of the service plan details the engineer's estimate of costs. I apologize, it says for Independence. This is for EC West. And Graham actually had that slide up on his presentation. We've talked about the estimated cost of financing. Each district will contribute to the overall cost of financing according to its financial ability. Obviously, if you have a district with 100 homes that are in the $1 million range, they're going to be able to contribute more than if you have 100 condos in a district. So each district will contribute proportionally to the ability, to the financing of the improvements. The cost estimates that you see in the service plan does not include private improvement costs, and that includes overlot grading, electrical infrastructure, gas infrastructure, and wet utilities serving individual lots. None of those are considered public improvements. They are paid for entirely by the developer. These districts are authorized to construct and maintain public infrastructure for the district, including streets, stormwater, water and sewer mains, parks, trails, all of the amenities and recreational facilities for the district. Next. The county will take ownership and maintenance of the streets outside of the development upon their acceptance by the county. The overlay district will own and maintain park and rec facilities, recreational amenities, open space, and they may contribute to street maintenance. Overlay district is also permitted to help with the maintenance of stormwater facilities, detention ponds, and the like. The metropolitan districts, the water and sanitation district, or the overlay district may maintain the storm drainage improvements, and it depends oftentimes on whether those improvements also have a park component to them, or whether they're strictly for detention and stormwater. The water and sanitation district will own, operate, and maintain all the potable and non-potable water facilities and all the sanitary sewer facilities within the development. Graham went through in his normal thorough detail all the information about the financing for these districts. So I'm not going to repeat it other than to say that the slide you see here basically is the same as all the information that was presented to you by Graham. Next. We are requesting that the Board of County Commissioners approve the EC West service plans today. I and Jim and Lacey are all here to answer questions if you have any.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Questions or comments?
If this were to be approved, what kind of timeline are we looking at as far as the board being put in place for the metro districts, the bonds being sold, that type of information? Just a timeline would be what I'm looking for.
So the process that occurs once the Board of County Commissioners approves the special districts is that we then have to have an election. And so we go to the court orders the first election, which will take care of the board of putting in place the first board of directors and approving the debt for the districts. In this case, we may separate that and get the boards put in place first because we can't have a debt election until November of this year. So we may do those separately, but that will activate the districts and put them in place so that they are then ready to act when development occurs. Let Jim tell you about that.
So I think Diane kind of gave you the long point of the timeline, which is our election in November. We're actively working on getting permits, putting what we call our infrastructure plat together for the kind of first phase. And so that's really construction of water, wastewater, those kind of things. So that will basically be developer advances up until some point that debt could be issued. And I think in Graham's presentation, you saw a 2028 bond. Our assumption is that the ability to issue bonds in today's world is difficult without homes, without any infrastructure in. So we'll continue to monitor that, but we're in an environment now where we're going to have to go in and put some infrastructure in and then, issue bonds for that. The one caveat to that is we probably can issue some type of a revenue bond to at least get the water and wastewater system started.
So part of your investment of the 200 roughly million is to get things off the ground until you're able to go out and issue the bonds. Is that?
Yeah, if you're referring to kind of the gap between the 4 and the 6, and it's a true statement. That's our investment early on, but it's all kind of blended together, and we'll kind of build through. It's, the 600 million is, just to clarify that a little bit, that's what's eligible, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's all, would all be paid through that mechanism. And so some of that will just be paid through our development of lots, and when we sell a builder a lot, that's kind of baked into the cost of a lot that they would buy, along with the tap fees, as you asked earlier.
I know you had some questions on build-out time.
Well, the numbers that were presented to us by our helper here indicated there might be a 15-year build-out, and back when you applied for the previous thing, you were talking about a 30-year build-out. And I'm just wondering, is the timing of the build-out a significant issue?
So I'll take a shot at that. Yes, it's a significant issue. There's kind of two concepts of build-out. One is us selling lots, and the other is building residences and selling homes. Yes. And so there is kind of a disconnect between what true build-out is. But yeah, we obviously, we're going to phase our development. So again, a lot of what you see up here is kind of this projected at the end of build-out. We're not going to invest that kind of money into, $289 million up front. It's going to be phase one of a water plant and a wastewater plant and 5 miles of roads.
You anticipated my second question. How does this fit with the phasing?
Yeah, so we have, and we're just putting together, and we're actually just going to sit down with Mark and his staff to kind of go through what we anticipate the first phase to be. And the first plat is going to be an infrastructure plat that's going to put in some set of roads and water, wastewater, and some detention and things like that. And then on top of that, we'll lay in about 100 lots. And so that's kind of our, quote, first phase. And we'll have builders sign up. They're already ready to sign up for those lots. Once we sell those, then we'll just continue to kind of come in and on paper entitle the next 100 and the next 100 so that we're ready to keep them, once they sell through, they can kind of roll into the next set.
That leads to my final question is the water and sanitation. I'm sure when you drill your wells and put your sewer plant in, it's big enough for everything, but you won't be putting in the pipeline systems until you have the new subsequent phases.
Partially correct. So we actually have drilled now our first Rapahoe well, casings in, and we're testing the water quality now because there's a process that we have to go through for about a year to kind of test that quality. So we're trying to get ahead of that. That won't be all of the wells that we drill over time. We will have to drill more wells in the future. So we're not drilling enough for the full capacity of the project today. We're only drilling for what would be probably around a third of the project. It's around 800 units. On the wastewater side, the same thing. We'll put in a footprint that will accommodate the expansion, but we're only going to build the first bay of that. So that'll be probably in that 500 or 600 unit range to start out with.
At this point, I'm going to go ahead and open for public comment just to see if we have any issues. But do we have anybody that would like to make public comment? Seeing none, we had nobody that wanted to be called, no email comment that came forward, so I'll close public comment at this time. So with that, not sure if there are additional questions. I think the questions that were asked to my left and right were pretty much the ones that I had questions on as well. So I think we can proceed to motions or final comments.
Just one final question is going back to the phasing and all of that kind of stuff. If you have that 400 million or 289 million or whatever it is for a particular thing, and it's available to you, you just use it as you need it, or is it all funded and then you get permission to use it?
Yeah, so there's kind of a fine line between the size of an issuance, I'll say. It's more risk to try to issue all of that against all of that future unknown. And so theoretically, I'll look at Lacey, the interest rate might be a little bit higher, the amount will be a little bit lower. So we will try to issue in tranches that we think make sense. We can't build water, wastewater for like 100-unit increments, but we might do it for a 500-unit increment, and we might have 3 or 4 issuances in there. But that's something we'll kind of evaluate as we go forward and look at logical, efficient development phases.
That's the answer I expected, but I wanted to make sure it was in the public comments so people would understand.
Okay. I have no questions. I don't believe we had any conditions attached to this. It's either approval or disapproval and then proceeding to the courts to form. So I would accept a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the restated service plans for EC West Metropolitan Districts numbers 1 through 5, EC West Commercial Metropolitan District, EC West Overlay Metropolitan District, and EC West Water and Sanitation District.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? Yeah, I would just, prior to the vote, say this does address a lot of the things we hear from the public regularly. One that, in this case, development is truly and very substantially paying its own way. This will be the first, maybe, well, we did have a smaller subdivision that came in December, but first substantial subdivision that will be not only installing its internal roadways, but maintaining them perpetually. So there is no future burden on the taxpayers throughout the county, only the residents within. Clearly, based on the numbers, the developer is not passing all the cost on to future taxpayers, but bearing a substantial, $200 million plus burden of the cost. And obviously, there's always risk to the developer, and I think it's appropriate to, pass some of that to future owners as well. But the county receives substantial off-site improvements. As I said, we're not accepting any internal maintenance or operations costs for the roads, but the amenities are open to all public, to the entire public, so as well as the roadways that'll be outside the community. So it's very much designed not to put any burden on current residents and pay for itself along the way, while providing, recreation and business opportunities to the county. So I do appreciate the efforts that went in. I know it's a little different model than we've had for past developments, and an awful lot of work back and forth with staff, but I think we've hit upon something that will provide much needed housing for future residents, but doesn't overly burden truly at all current services to current residents. So I appreciate all the work that went into this. So with that, we had a motion on the table. For all in favor, I'd say, please say aye.
I don't think I seconded it, but I'll do that now.
Oh, all right. We didn't have a motion. I'll take your second. Okay. So now we have a motion and a second on the table, and all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I'd accept a motion to close public hearing on this item.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close public hearing on the service plans for EC West Metropolitan Districts numbers 1 through 5, EC West Commercial Metropolitan District, EC West Overlay Metropolitan District, and EC West Water and Sanitation District.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. We're out of public hearing. I will do that. Mark, I don't believe we have any other business before us, so I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
Yes, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a reluctant second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Diane.